live show like this. I know I had a little cameo last week when Delaney and I did that special show on Roglieri, but it's good to be back for a live show.
Absolutely. And Bob, for everybody's reference, he's still in Europe, still having a good time, and we're back here bringing the SBA news that you want to know. So let's get started. Oh, there's certainly let's go back to the certificate of participation. Make sure and print these out and keep these in your file when SBA asks you about training for your SBA team. These certainly will fit for training for your SBA team. So make sure and print those out and keep those in a file. The lead story for today is about eligibility and SBA eligibility. In fact, I just got a call from Delaney a few seconds ago. Are you going to be on the show? And I'm like, yeah, I was answering eligibility questions for a participant lender. And eligibility is so important. And I know in the new process, in the new SOP 5010 7.1, SBA is taking a lot of the eligibility off of the lender's shoulders and are taking care of processing that. But you as a participant lender still have responsibility for different areas of eligibility. And what we're going to talk about today is not just an eligibility thing when you're putting it in your loan in E-Tran, but it's also good for your loan officers, your business development officers, your people who are trying to generate SBA business for your institution. And it's the alternative size standard. So SBA has size standards to make a determination, Anna, if a business is small. And I got some fun facts out today. Yeah. Like if you're making an SBA loan to a coal mine operation, they can have up to 850 employees and still be considered small.
Really?
If you're making a loan, Anna, to a construction company that builds single family houses, and I know a lot of SBA participant lenders are like, no, you can't do investment property. You can still loan money to a developer for equipment, for working capital. You just can't do the single family residences that they're building and selling. But a construction company can have up to $45 million in revenue and still be considered small.
Yeah.
Manufacturing companies, Anna, typically are based on the number of employees. And I found it interesting. There's some manufacturers that can have up to 1,500 employees and still be considered small and eligible for an SBA loan. Wholesale companies, it varies. And guys, all these standards are based on the NAICS code of the company that's applying. And the size determination is made at the point of application. It's not made after the loan is closed. It's not made 6 months prior the time when they submit the application. A grocery store, Anna, what do you think revenue for a small grocery store can be?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. For them to consider it small?
A grocery store can be up to $40 million in revenue and still be small. Many of you know my brother is in the furniture business, so I was curious and wanted to look at furniture retail. Furniture retail business can have up to $25 million in annual revenue and still be small. And the reason I brought these examples up, Anna, is we have to look at, when we're looking at opportunities for small business lending as a loan officer, business development officer, you need to know they're small.
Right.
Well, I used to have a saying. I lived in Northwest Arkansas and worked for several banks up there. And I told everybody, if you're not Walmart and you're not Tyson Foods and you're not JB Hunt, you're probably a small business. When I did training for the Small Business Development Center program, I'd always state that. And people are like, what do you mean? Well, not only do we have our size standards, but we have alternative size standards. And alternative size standards qualify quite a number of small businesses. And I'm going to ask you a question in a minute, Anna, about this, that wouldn't qualify under the regular size standards. And for the longest time, the size standard, there's a net worth size standard. and you're looking at the tangible net worth of the company, and it was $15 million. Well, when SBA was working on the SOP, there was a rule proposed to increase these. And they increase these size standards, they say, because of inflation. I was sharing a story with Anna and Delaney and Mike before we started. It's kind of interesting because when there's inflation, costs go up, profits go down, and net worth probably goes down. But they're adjusting these size standards because of inflation. And so net worth, your average net worth could be $15 million, and you would still be considered small under alternative small size standards. And now, starting March 18th, they've adopted a final rule on alternative size standards. The alternative size standard for net worth is going up to $20 million. And guys, a $20 million net worth is a pretty decent size small business.
Yeah.
The other alternative size standard is average net income. So you look at a 2-year net income for the company, and that was $5 million for a long time. And they've increased that to $6.5 million. So a company can have your last two. So if you're looking at a company today, you would look at their 2023 net income and their 2022 net income. And I always tell people, guys, it's an average. They could have had $12 million in net income in 2023 and had a loss in 2022 and still qualify because it's average net income. So those are the two new alternative size standards: $20 million in net worth, $6.5 million in net income. Now, Anna, I know you and Delaney, I think Delaney came up with the number, or someone did. How many new small business eligible, SBA loan eligible businesses did we get from this change?
Yes, so this rule is going to apply to a whopping 8.1 million employer firms, which is just absolutely incredible. And SBA estimated that about 500, 500 7A or 504 loans will be approved under these new requirements that wouldn't have been approved before. So 8.1 million that this is applied to, plus like a 500 actual estimated 500 people will be helped, is pretty incredible.
I have used the alternative size standards for several SBA loans during my career. I've used it in the convenience store industry as an example. I had a convenience store that's revenue was higher than the size standard, but they were able to meet the net worth requirements of the alternative size standards, and we're able to help a great small business get financing for a new company. So just wanted to share this with everyone. Like I said, it takes effect on March the 18th. And you always have to consider alternative size. We're all looking for great SBA loans. And some of these businesses that you would use alternative size standards are really good, strong, small businesses that you could bring into your institution as customers. So wanted to share that with you. The second thing we're going to address today, SBA has their eligibility and forgiveness review of PPP loans. I just want to tell you, Anna, when I first started working on PPP loans back during the pandemic and PPP round one, if you asked me at that point, and we were doing a daily show, think about this, guys, Mike, Anna, Delaney, Joseph, and I were doing a daily Coleman Report live because of PPP and all the things that happened and changed. I would have told you that PPP should have already pretty much been over, but it's not going to be over for quite some time. And somebody asked me why. Well, if you have a PPP borrower who's didn't submit for forgiveness and is making payments, those loans potentially could still be out there until June of 2026. So there's still some more time.
Got a bit of time there.
So the Inspector General was taking a look at how SBA looked at loan originations and the eligibility. Of course, in the first round of PPP, they didn't have their electronic 19-point data check that should have caught up on these. And several loans got through the system that were on the do not pay list, which means they're not eligible for federal financing of any sort. Now, the interesting thing is that do not pay data list is going to grow dramatically because of PPP, because of those people who committed fraud during PPP or those who let their PPP loans be charged off. But there were quite a number of loans, almost $2.7 billion in financing that got through. Now, in round two, SBA had a eligibility check that was in place that should have caught them. And there still were a number of PPP loans that did get through and ended up on that do not pay list and were not eligible. And then forgiveness submissions. SBA forgave a significant number of PPP loans, almost $1.4 billion that were forgiven, and they had DMP or do not pay hold codes. So pretty interesting what they found in terms of looking at people that were not really eligible, Anna, and people that were not eligible. If they were not eligible for the loan to begin with, they were certainly not eligible for forgiveness.
Right, definitely. And like you were saying earlier when you and I were chatting before the show, I mean, SBA did put some of these procedures in place, especially with round two, but just the sheer volume of everything coming in, it's just impossible to keep up with. So.
Well, I think the big thing, one of the big it was such a huge program.
Yeah.
And SBA was tasked with getting tons and tons of money out to small businesses. And like we've said before on the show, the alternative would have been massive unemployment, potentially civil unrest, and other things that could have occurred if small businesses had not been propped up and employment had not been propped up by PPP. You can take a program like this and pick it apart over time. And it's kind of like my dad always told me, after it's already over, there are a lot of people who can look at a program and pick it apart and say they did this wrong. But when you're in the heat of battle, sometimes it's hard to prevent this. So there's going to be fraud stories and stories like this from the Inspector General. Now, I think the Inspector General primarily was pointing out that they felt like SBA needed more processes and procedures in place to avoid these people on the do not pay list. So we'll continue to see stories like this over time about PPP, and like I said, Delaney's going to have Fraud Friday stories for as long as she wants to write those.
Yep. Yeah. Then just one last thing about this evaluation. This came out on Thursday, so it's really new. And I just wanted to leave off by saying that the OIG in their recommendation section, you hit it right on the head. They said, we recommend SBA implement or enhance policies and procedures to ensure compliance with program requirements and federal standards for identifying and preventing improper payments and seek remedy or repayment of ineligible loans. So that is their recommendation, and SBA has responded, and that is in the evaluation report.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we have a great webinar coming up on Thursday of this week on insurance coverage on your small business loans. There are 15 different types of insurance that you might potentially. I don't want everybody to think I have to get 15 types of insurance on every SBA loan, but we're going to talk about the various types of insurance, when you need it, when you don't, what kinds of documentation, how much coverage you need. So if you are an SBA lender, a underwriter, even a closer, and you want to know more about the insurance coverage requirements on an SBA loan, this is going to be a great webinar for you. And I always like to share stories about insurance issues. You know, we require life insurance on SBA loans when loans are not fully collateralized, Anna. And actually, you know, in most cases, the lender never sees that as a potential collection item. I was managing a portfolio where the principal of the business passed. It was a loan that was actually past due. And the proceeds from life insurance paid the loan off, and his family was in a better position. The business was paid off. And it not only provided a service, that's what I always like to talk to my loan customers. It's not just insurance requirements to protect the bank and the SBA. That same life insurance can protect the business owner's family if they do pass away. And in this particular case, it was a $2.5 million loan on a great small business. They were having some cash flow issues, but he ended up passing, and it paid the loan off, and the wife and children had a business that they could either rely on for income or sell and use. So insurance coverages are so important.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really looking forward to this webinar. I know that Bob said that we produce this maybe every couple of years. We update it, and this will be my first time working with Coleman when we do it, and I will be producing it. So I'm really looking forward to being hands-on with this. And yeah, that'll be on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you get your team signed up. We're really excited about it.
Well, guys, that's all we have this week or this Monday. I do want to encourage everybody, and I've been working with my students, Anna, and many of them have class when the Coleman Report live show is on, and it's a requirement for them in my class to watch the Coleman Report live show.
Love it.
And most of my students will watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And as a participant lender, if you have team members that are not able to be here from 12 to 12:30 on Monday and Friday, they can go on YouTube, type in Coleman Report Live, and watch the show at any time.
I would also like I would like to say on that note, actually, if anybody watches an episode of the show and they would like a certificate for it, I would be happy to provide that to you. So if you watch an episode of the show on YouTube and you want a certificate of participation, you can just go ahead and email me at anna@colemanreport.com, and we can get you that participation certificate for any shows that you watch, even if you aren't watching them live. So just wanted to point that out, Lance.
Oh, that's perfect. And that will help document your training. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful Monday, and please be sure and be back on Friday for Coleman Report Live and Fraud Friday. Very exciting edition. In fact, a couple of Fridays ago, we did the first story on Chris Roglieri, and that one got watched a huge number of times on YouTube. Not only the people that watched it live, but people continued to pull it up and take a look at it. If you've not seen it, go back and look at it. It's a great Coleman Report Fraud Friday.
Yes, most definitely. I think that was February 16th. Definitely check it out. That is our most watched video. It's a really good one. So,
guys, thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you on Fraud Friday. Have a great day.
Yes, we will.